Good morning viewers, welcome to another episode of Lockdown Musings. Now China has always been a mystery, but the Great Wall prevented that mystery from being unraveled. The world is attracted to China, but is also wary, and this wariness has got worse after the incidents of COVID-19. COVID-19 is still a mystery. It originated in China, no doubt, or was discovered there, but its real origins, whether man-made or natural, is yet unknown. The world is blaming China and conspiracy theories abound. Was it a strategy to take over American investments in China or weaken the world's biggest economies and prime itself for takeover of the economy in these countries? Very hard to say. India has its own fears. On the one hand, it is grappling with the COVID-19 spread, and on the other hand, it has had to deal with a crashing economy because of it. Chinese FDI into India is small. Around 6.2 billion is what the media reports say, but its impact is huge. That's because private sector in China, which is generally backed by the state, has invested in some of the key companies in India in the tech space. These include Big Basket, Byju's, Dream11, Flipkart, Hike, Make My Trip, Ola, Oyo, all the big names that you hear today. Any fresh investment in these companies from existing investors will face additional scrutiny because of the new FDI guidelines. So India and China, they are neighbors, they share a border, and their economies to some extent, even to a large extent, are now intertwined. But with COVID-19, things are going to change. And what this change is, and whether it augurs well for India or not, is something I'd like to discuss with one of the most eminent chartered accountants in Mangalore, Nitin Shetty. I would like to begin, welcome to the show, Nitin, and I'd like to begin by asking you, what are the strengths and weaknesses of India's economic relationship with China? Where are we and where do we go from here, given the state of our economy?
Good morning, Brian. Nice to be on your channel. Coming to your question, let's go to the introduction. If you remember in history, UK was the place where the Industrial Revolution started. And from there it moved to the Europe and the US. Today, the total lifestyle of UK, US has changed in course of time. They moved all their manufacturing units to the Asian countries, to Taiwan, China, India, Vietnam and all these places. So today it has come to such a stage that there is no much manufacturing happening in UK or in Europe or US for that matter. Today the world is dependent wholly on China. China accounts for around 24% of the world's manufacturing. It is the largest importer as well as exporter in the world, and it has a 15 trillion economy. Considering all this, you can see how much the world is dependent on China. Even with the COVID-19 test kits, the PPE, personal protection equipment, all had to be imported from China. The world is dependent on China even during this time, COVID. As far as India is concerned, we find that India imports around 40,000 crores of goods from China every month. The nearest is UAE, which imports around 20,000 crores per. We import around 20,000 crores from UAE, and mainly it's because of crude. The trade deficit between China and India stands at around 5 lakh crores today. If you go back a few days back, Donald Trump has recently said that America should start manufacture. So this is one of the main reasons that the world is dependent on China today.
World is dependent on China, correct. And is India dependent on China? Because I do understand we have imported the kits from China, and everything we run to China for whatever we want, because they have got the labor, they have got the technology. But now will that relationship change is my question to you. Given the COVID-19 situation and the weakened economy of India, how will that relationship change?
No, I would not say that we have a weakened economy, Brian. It is basically what is happening. There is an anti-China sentiment world over. See, some are saying it's a conspiracy, which was a lab-tested virus, lab-prepared virus. But there is no proof for all this. However, if you see, China doesn't share much information. They are very economical as far as sharing information. That is why, if you see, they have not shared information of the pandemic, which came somewhere in November in China. So the world got to know about it this all late. We have a lot of investments done by Chinese companies in India. See what happens, basically Chinese companies are not normal. They are not normal companies. Chinese government has large stakes in all these companies, or if not stakes, they have a total control. So basically what is happening, Chinese investment is political. So there is a fear of takeover. We are not scared, we are scared of foreign governments, but we are not scared of foreign companies. See, if you see, we have Suzuki, Hyundai, Nestle, Toyota, HUL, a way lot of companies are there. But the dependence on China is always there for the world. That is what I want to tell you.
Okay. Let's say that we are not dependent on Chinese goods. But the problem is China wants to invest in various parts of the world for its own reasons. Now, given that they already have stakes in India's key companies, are they going to take further stakes? Is the question that I was trying to ask you, because the share prices have come down. It's what happened to American companies in China after the COVID. And with those lowered share prices, will the Chinese private companies backed by the Chinese government act to increase their stakes in these companies? And what are the implications for India?
Brian, once again, I'm trying to tell you, this is a sentimental issue. People are thinking world over that China is going to take over all the companies. See, based on this sentimental issue, various governments all over the world have issued directives in restricting foreign direct investment in their countries. In that matter, India also, they put out a press note on 17th April, if I'm not mistaken, 17th April, that they gave a small change in the foreign direct investment policy. Brian, there are three ways that a foreign company invests in India. It is either through the automatic route. When it is an automatic route, anyone from anywhere can invest in certain sectors just with the intimation to Reserve Bank of India. The next is the government route. Now, the government route, if anybody, foreign direct investment has to come, it has to come through government route in case they are investing in defense, telecom, media, pharma, insurance and some selected sectors. And then there is a prohibited sector. The prohibited sector even the government doesn't allow. Like it has to come maybe through a cabinet approval or something like that. It is the lotteries, chit funds, gambling, nidis, real estate to a certain extent, and products manufactured from tobacco. Now in this what happened, the present position was, just two parts is there. The present position was a non-resident entity can invest through the automatic route. But however, if he is a citizen of Bangladesh or any entity incorporated in Bangladesh could not invest in India. They have to come only through the government route. And next part of that same sentence, same para is that any entity or citizen of Pakistan can invest in government only through the government sectors, and there also they are not supposed to invest in defense, space, atomic energy, such kind of things. Now what happened? The revised position after 17.4, a revised position has come, wherein the second part is the same. Pakistan thing is not touched. They have to come for government through government route and with the restriction of defense. But the first part, they removed Bangladesh and they just said any country that shares a land border with India, they are not supposed to invest directly on the automatic route. They have to always come through the government route. So when you say shares a land border, which are the borders? Nepal, Myanmar, Afghanistan, Bhutan and China. Pakistan and Bangladesh is already there. So now what happens? Any investment that comes through China will have to go through the government route. It won't come through the automatic route, that is through the RBI.
There are some protection barriers put in place, and I think in the short run these might be useful to control what we think might be a foreign takeover. Be that as it may, will companies that are now operating from China, I'm talking about the multinational companies operating in China, will they move their manufacturing operations or their office operations to India? That is another question that many people are asking, and I would like to ask you.
See, companies are moving out of China. That is yes. But where will they go? Their first preference is Eastern Europe, Vietnam, Indonesia, Taiwan. Why is that? Because labor is cheap there. Chinese labor has gone up now because of total industrialization in China. The Chinese labor has gone up. However, if you go to these countries, what I said, Eastern Europe, Vietnam, Indonesia and all those places, their population is less and the area also is less. So in course of time, if too much industrialization happens in those countries, the labor cost could go up. But India is different. We have a very strong population, huge population. So only problem is that India has to be a friendly destination. We have this habit of amending our income tax laws or whatever laws with retrospective effect. If you see the Vodafone case, a 2 billion dispute is still not settled and that company moved out. The paperwork, the licensing, all should go down in India. It is going down. Now the ease of doing business is somewhere around 70 or 75. That has to come down. If you see Vietnam is at 69. They are much ahead of us. So we have to come out there. We have to think of creating only employment, don't think from the tax angle. For example, I'll give you in Ireland, the Ireland Prime Minister, he invited Apple. He said, you invest $20 billion in our country, you pay only 20% tax. So that is the kind of incentives we have to give. See, cost of setting up a factory anywhere in the world is same. But the labor component is going to, is a variable cost which is going to change. And if you see now US, UK, they are asking come back. They want to go back for manufacture. And in today's kind of system, even manufacture is all with robotics, artificial intelligence. This could be a challenge because the labor component gets reduced substantially. So what I feel, the Indian government should send out trade delegations, not only government of it, should be involved with some trade, like you have the trade chambers and all those things, big industries. They should go out, meet these companies, give them the incentives and ask them to come into India. Only then it can be happen. If you see we have a lot of red tapeism, movement of papers, land is allotted, by the time the conversion and all this, it takes a lot of time. This has to be speeded up.
So besides the ease of doing business, that's one way of perhaps reviving the economy, bringing business into India. What are the other methods that you would suggest? This is my last question. We are done with China, but we are now focused on India, because how will the Indian economy revive? Prior to the COVID-19 itself, it was on a downslide for so many reasons. But with COVID-19 and the lockdown and business now in limbo, post COVID-19, how can the Indian economy revive? That's apart from improving the ease of doing business.
Brian, I am not a big economist, but going through these various recommendations given by a lot of economists and the well-read, I just shortlisted 3 measures. One is India should print money. We should print money and put it into circulation, because if you see the last budget, our fiscal deficit was not very high, and the inflation today is at its lowest, all-time low. So once this money gets into the public's hand, it will kickstart the economy. See, now government is not going to collect GST. As practice, we collect about 90,000 to 1 lakh crore per month. Income tax about 1 lakh crore. All this is not going to come. State excise is closed. Government is not going to get all that money. So it has to only print money, put it back into circulation, and that should kickstart the economy. That is one. And second is, agriculture, MSME or SMEs are the backbone of India today. Agriculture is the main. See, earlier also there was this quasi-farming should be introduced, wherein companies are allowed to do farming. The company, he has like a cooperative sector, he gives the manure, the seeds, fertilizers, all to the farmer. Farmer tills it, and the companies buy back the yield. Even in case there is a crop loss, he provides for the insurance, the company provides for the insurance. Now if you see in this pandemic, we have seen a lot of farmers losing their crop, perishables basically. So if a company comes in, what they do, they market it at a huge scale. So they have the ready-made storage freezers, transportation is done by them. All this can happen. For example, if you see plantations, companies are allowed. If you see how Tata Coffee or Assam Tea, how they manufacture, how they manage their plantations. Similarly, this can be done. This is the best time for getting introduced. As regards MSME, SMEs, if you see the interest rate in the globe, all around the globe is 1% or less than 1% today. And we in India today, we stand at around 6%, 8%. See, there's a huge arbitrage. Allow the Indian companies to go out and get money from outside. We see our FEMA law is so strict that companies cannot go easily and access funds etc. Allow them. The companies have got technical, financial knowledge. Let them get that. They can play the arbitrage. And banks are still lending at, if you see, it starts from 8% to about 13%. This is not the rate which an industry can survive today. If you see the MSMEs, I was just seeing a statistics, the total MSMEs that we have today, out of which 25% can only pay 1 month's salary today. They have only that much funds. Next 25% have about 2 months of salary. 3 months down the lane, so the economy is not going to improve for another 6 to 9 months. Where are they going to get that funds? Real estate. Real estate is really bad. See, allow real estate to get funds from outside, or the banks should lend them. That is how they can, see, real estate, next to agriculture, real estate is the biggest employer. They should be getting money. And the third point is infra. Spend on infra. This is the best time for government to build highways, airports, bridges, flyovers, whatever it is. Create good infra. The money will go there, even use the Manrega. Give them the Manrega, the people can go back to the villages and work there. The money comes into the hand of the people, and then that can kickstart the economy. And one more point I want to tell you, Brian, considering about this China, see, we always say it is bad, but there is another view says that it is good, the Chinese investments in India. For example, stock markets are depressed today. Chinese inflow can raise the prices. I was reading somewhere, once the COVID has started, $40 billion has moved out of India from the equity and debt markets. And now the government, as per the budget, if you have seen, we wanted to auction the PSU shares and raise about 1 trillion rupees. Where is that money going to come up? Secondly, how can you say the prices today are low? The Chinese are going to purchase the company and take it low. How can you say the prices are low? There could be a still lower figure. For example, the Walmart Flipkart deal, it happened at $16 billion. Once that was done, the government limited the activities for e-commerce companies. What happened? Reliance and Jio stood to gain. And today if you see, that $16 billion was a huge overpayment. Maybe it would have been, if today's market, it would have been 5-6 billions. See, that much money has come into India. Chinese companies have invested in India in mobile phones, household applications, automobiles, everywhere. You see the mobile phones, 72% of the market of mobile phones is Chinese. That is Oppo and Xiaomi. PCBs are now manufactured in India. So what happens? There is a huge lot of employment created. Venture capitalists. If you see, we have 30 unicorns in India, out of which 18 are funded by the Chinese. And the startups in 2019, we had $14 billion came into India, out of which $4 billion came only from Chinese investments. And now see, they require the next round of funding because of this. Like for example, Oyo, Paytm, Make My Trip, Swiggy, all these require the next round of funding. Where is the money going to come from? They are creating so much employment. Immediately after the 17th notification which came out, the main company to suffer was Big Basket. They were to get in the second round of funding, they were to get $50 million from Alibaba because they are struggling on the lockdown. That is not happening. Yes, I would agree with you one point. Chinese have access to a lot of data because they have invested in fintech, media, social media, e-commerce. See, data is going to be the next asset for artificial intelligence. They are having lot of, maybe this is something we should think about. If you see TikTok, it has more subscribers than YouTube. YouTube is supposed to be the most popular, but TikTok has, see the kind of data they can collect. Oppo, Xiaomi, Paytm, Oyo, Ola, all these companies. So it is a mixed situation, Brian. Maybe I feel we stand more to gain if the Chinese invest in India because the government will somehow control the management of the companies.
That's correct. I think what you're trying to tell me is that we require the money in India and we should not block it. That's one thing. We should also put safeguards into place. The third thing is that we need to keep money in the hands of the consumer if you have to kickstart the economy. And of course, the last, of course, is the agricultural sector. We need to revive it and help it grow by quasi-farming. I think these are the four main points that you made for reviving the Indian economy, and we should not be afraid of China. That's what I gather. I don't think we are afraid of China. It's just that perhaps, as you said, data management has to be very clearly understood, and in that sense, Indians have to be protected. Thank you very much, Nitin, for joining me on the show. And I'm sure whatever we have discussed today will have a great impact on our viewers. And we'll have a little less, perhaps, of China-centric discourse in the days to come. Thank you very much, Nitin.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.